Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the October 24th, 2023 meeting of the Woods Hole, Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket Steamship Authority. I hope everyone can hear me okay. As we get going, I would like to inform everyone that Sean Driscoll, the authority's communication director, is making an audio and video recording of today's meeting. Is there anyone else making an audio recording of today's meeting? If so, please identify yourself. If you are joining virtually, please press the raise your hand icon on the Zoom dashboard, or if you're joining by phone, by pressing *9 on your keypad. When you are recognized, please state your name for the record. Yes.
Louisa Hustatter with the Vineyard Gazette, and Mark Lovewell is taking pictures.
Awesome.
Nice to see you all. You saw it in the that.
Okay. You ready? Okay. Pursuant to section 20 of chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021 as amended. Actually, I don't need to read.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Never mind what I just said. Our first item on the agenda.
Mr. Chair, if I may just point out, so
Let's recognize some audience members.
so in the audience, we have Adam Turner with the Martha's Vineyard Commission, Kate Warner from Martha's Vineyard Commission Energy, Ben Robinson, and I apologize if I'm missing. Am I missing any other public officials here?
You got Leo. He doesn't want to be recognized.
Leon used to be. I apologize if I missed someone.
Okay, our first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the authority's September 2026 meeting in public session.
I move the minutes, please.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Oh, sorry.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, please
Aye.
say aye. Opposed? Or abstains?
I abstain.
There's an abstention. Yeah. At this point, I'll recognize Mr. Malcolm for some comments.
Thank you, and welcome to Martha's Vineyard Board. Place where we have the most trips, and the Steamship Authority is a vital part of our lives each day. And what I'd like to do is, for the benefit of the board, as well as for the people who are from the island, is introduce a number of topics which I hope will be addressed today and perhaps at our November meeting as well, that are major topics of concern on this island. Topic number one is the issue that we experienced before, but it seemed very prevalent this summer, which is people being unable to get reservations and boats traveling empty. I have talked to a lot of people and heard internally from the authority that we have issues of people not showing up for bookings. We have issues of people internally in our reservations group not checking weekly or daily. I have heard issues of space allocations, car equivalency units, smaller trucks showing up when bigger trucks were anticipated. And I'd like to know what we are going to do about that, because that is by and away the biggest problem people on this island seem to face. Inability to get reservations and then both going empty. But that's a huge issue for the island. Another issue that we face that we hear a lot about is the issue of alternative fuel sources. As you know, the state has mandated for our type of operation various requirements and dates. We'd be interested in knowing what our plan is to meet those requirements. And in terms of that, who's responsible, when those dates are going to be met, if it's hybrid, what are the financing arrangements that we're planning on doing to accomplish those goals. The other issues that we face constantly is the issue, as we all know, financing for replacement vessels. If we are going to convert to hybrid, as I said, with the financing, and then in terms of training and retention of people, what are our plans for training and retention of people in the labor market that we currently face? So those are a few of the issues. The major issue here is inability to get reservations and empty space on boats. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have someone from the court council? Mr. Toledo, welcome.
Mind if I stay seated?
You may stay seated.
The meeting of the Port Council on the 10th of October 2023, the meeting was called to order at 9:01 a.m. Minutes of the August 1st, 2023 meeting and the September 12th, 2023 meeting are approved. Mr. Wilson presented business summary for the month of August 2023 and also presented the 2024 operating budget. Mr. Wilson asked if the staff held a budget workshop for the Port Council and the board members. Mr. Davis said typically they do not, and staff would be more than happy to meet with any members who had any questions. In response to the question from Mr. Toledo, Mr. Rozum said that the generator for the Bluffs job would be included in the capital budget when presented later this year. Upon motion of the Port Council voting 5-0 for approval of the proposed 2024 operating budget as presented. Mr. Rozum then presented the rate adjustment for 2024 upon a motion of the Port Council voted 5-0 to recommend the proposed 2024 rate adjustment to the board. Mr. Davis provided updates on the website redesign project. Mr. Davis then presented an update on the authority's IT review conducted by Givus LLC. Mr. Emerson updated the council on the MP Aquinnah and the MP Barnstable. Mr. Edmondson then provided an update on the Martha's Vineyard dry docking at the 10th Yard. Mr. Davis presented the annual transportation agreement with the Martha's Vineyard Region High School District. Upon motion of the Port Council voted 5-0 to recommend approval of the transportation agreement to the board. Mr. Gable asked for 2 items to be placed on the future agenda. One was complaints about space on boats that are unavailable to be booked, and utilization of vehicle space on the vessels, and the number of diversions from Old Bluffs to Green Haven. There was a brief discussion of interns and scholarships at the National Maritime Academy. Meeting adjourned at 10:21 a.m. On a 5-0 vote. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for that fabulous report. Next, we have the general manager's report, Mr. Davis.
Good morning, everyone. So, the first item I have today is an update on the website redesign. John, pulling up the presentation.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to stay with you, but I received the letter. I think Mr. Jones got a copy of the letter that was sent to the Barnstable town manager that Bud Briel was asked not to be appointed as of the 1st of January 2024. I just want to make the board available. I think Mr. Davis also got a copy. Excuse me, thank you.
All right, so regarding the website redesign, Stellar Elements, formerly known as ADK, previous to that was Project 202, has been working on the parking permits, the ability to edit email addresses, some of the security overview that needs to be performed, as well as the content management system updates. They continue to work on credit cards and gift card processing. They're also working on the finalizing the security setups and the firewall configurations that need to be done for the site, as well as fixing the testing and fixing bugs that have been identified. The internal users continue to review the site content and have been retesting any of the bug fixes that have been taken care of or identifying new ones. Stellar Elements and the IT staff, as I said, is looking at developing a load test so that way we can stress the new system to see if there's any points of failure that we need to be concerned about, as well as some site monitoring procedures. Acceptance testing will follow the internal beta site launch, and the internal launch will be the beta launch will be limited and controlled to allow for us to be verifying that the financial testing is transferred over to a live system and sign us on that. So we'll be testing it with credit cards and making sure that works. Those work. So At this point, we're at the project is $2.8 million. We've spent about 93% of that has been spent at this point. With us today is Ben Kaplan and Chris Baker from Stellar Elements, and if you indulge, Mr. Baker would like to say a word to the board.
Thanks, Bob. So I just here wanted to express my thanks to the Steam Authority for partnership. We're at this really exciting moment, getting very close to the launch, and we recognize the journey it's taken to get here collectively. As a co-founder of ADK Group and have seen Group through the journey and a long-term resident of Charlestown, Massachusetts, we use the Steam Authority many times. I'm just personally, and I know our team is very, very excited for what's to come with this launch. So thank you all.
At this point, the team has been working on is probably 10 or 12 items that have, we want to make sure addressed before we roll it out. Some of which are the ability to be able to change a vehicle on the existing reservation, to be able to make reservations as a guest, the coupon book, being able to reload the coupon books and things like that. But I think the list has been, it shrinks, it grows, it shrinks, and I think overall it's been shrinking. So. I did mention that, so Sean did have some public information, some sessions with Port Council board members to get them familiarized with the website earlier this month. And then we're going to be scheduling some public information sessions as well to be able to illustrate some of the changes that everyone will be seeing with the new site.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to answer some questions.
Yep, go ahead.
The two questions. The first is one on timeline. Can you give me specific dates for completion of acceptance testing and internal beta testing, and then when the estimated public launch would be? And then the second question is, will the 7% of remaining budget be able to meet the remaining work that's necessary to get it to public launch?
I'll answer those in reverse. Yes.
Good answer.
And then the next regarding the internal testing launch, we anticipate that to happen the end. Well, we're at almost the end of this month, so it'll be beginning part of November. It takes about 2 weeks. We still have to get the Apple Store and the Google Play for the mobile app feature to be approved. And then, as I said, the credit card testing. So we'd be looking at, we probably don't want to be rolling it out before Thanksgiving, since that's a busy time for resident travel. So probably right after Thanksgiving.
And then, if I may, another question with that, if it sounds like we're looking to roll out after Thanksgiving, but with enough time for people to get familiarity before we do the pre-sales.
That'd be correct.
And then what level of support, live support, will we have for the public in the first 30 days of rollout?
John's been working more on that, so.
And Kurt and Stephen can jump in if necessary, but we have certain members of the reservation staff are trained as quote unquote super users so that they can handle any specific website questions that come in. We're also going to have a dedicated option on the reservation line for people who just have website questions. And once we have a firmer date for launch, we're arranging for some extended hours for that as well. We've also got extensive online tutorials and videos for people, and we're working with Stellar live chat functionality for the initial part of launch as well.
And when would the hours be then for that live support on what day, just in general?
In general, it would go about 2 hours, Pat, they close at 4 o'clock, so we're looking to do like a 4 to 6. So a couple of extra hours in the early evening, but that could be determined.
They don't make reservations overnight.
I'm sorry, say again.
So don't try to make your reservations overnight the first time around.
It'll work, I think, but no, I mean, they will, they're gonna have extra people on staff in the reservation office to be able to handle those questions.
And the goal is to have the system as fluid as possible, so that way, all the help and text is there for the users as they go through the process.
Questions from the board? No?
Okay. So next, a quick update on the IT review being performed by Gibbous. Okay, as we've addressed previously, they've already gone through an assessment of what the current state is of our systems, benchmark and have been benchmarking our operations versus other operators. There was a survey that was conducted. That survey has been completed. They developed looking at the vision statement and assessment of what other documentation that they would need. Currently, they're refining the options for going forward. So yeah, behind you here, ahead of you. Next one. Yeah, so now they're looking at what options we have for on a going forward basis in terms of what the recommendation is going to be in terms of what they're seeing for whether it's our internal systems or external systems. They'll be scheduling some working sessions. They've already been coming back to work with staff members for some clarity on some of the previous discussions that they've had with members of the staff. They'll be doing that in the remainder of this month and into next month, and identifying what the cost implications are for the various options that they will be presenting. The next, so we expect a draft report at the beginning of December to be reviewed and final recommendations to be made in January for the report. Thus far, we spent $140,000 out of the $245,000 budget on this project. The balance should be 105, not 155 on that last screen.
Questions? Go ahead, Mr. Jeffrey.
I would like to request that the draft report be provided to the board prior to the final report. I'd like to see the unfiltered recommendations, although draft recommendations of the IT assessment consultant. I'm particularly interested in that, having been the chair of the committee that selected them, to see where they were in meeting our RFP goals.
I support that, please.
Okay. All right. No other questions regarding that? Next, we have an update on the Aquinnah in Barnstable. So Mark is down in the shipyard, so let's see if he can join us.
Good morning, everyone from Alabama Shipyard. Just want to give an update on the Barnstable and Aquinnah project. If you can put, Sean could put the presentation up. Next slide. So this is a aerial photo of the vessels as they sit. We're in the process of commencing cutting the mid bodies out of both vessels. Next slide. So we started this project with at an LOA of 235 feet, which required a 24-foot mid-body cut. And subsequently in April, we were able to extend that to 245 feet. And that was accomplished by doing a lesser cut of 14 foot out of the mid-body. Next slide. So in the so we're at the 245 foot with the 14 foot mid-body, and we've been working with our naval architect Boris Kurloff. Part of the challenges of the amount of internal bulkheads that we've had to insert in the vessel to meet the intact damage stability. So he came up with a plan to get the vessel under 200 feet length between perpendiculars, and this would be requiring going back to the original mid-body and a extension of the stern area by 10 feet. And we were able to eliminate 3 structural bulkheads by doing this, and that was very advantage in not just in here, but in the future for maintenance on the vessel in the generator area. Next slide. So this kind of gives a new view of the stern ramp on the Barnstable and the Aquinnah. And we've gone through all the finite element analysis, and it'll be very robust, and we are moving forward upon approval from the board on this. Next slide. So to accomplish this, to do the additional 10 feet of stern extension was $98,468. And it also required an additional 10 feet of bulwark structure at $16,210 for a grand total of $114,678. Now, back in early April, we were able to, to do the 14-foot mid-body was an additional $105,454. And we're able to get this back as a credit for this project of extending the stern ramp. So the net cost to doing this this change is $9,224. Plus, we foresee additional costs coming back in removal of 3 subdivision bulkheads from the main contract and improved schedule, which we're awaiting. And we just wanted to get everyone updated on the changes that we've done. So from the financial snapshot, we're at the original cost for each vessel for the conversion, $13,705,158. We've had $166,056 in change orders for the Aquinnah and $239,329 for the Barnstable. So we're at $27,815,701 for the conversion project. I don't know if Bob, if you had that other photo that you wanted to put up.
No, apparently Sean didn't get the money.
Okay. All right. Any questions, anyone?
Questions from the board? No questions, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Don't go away.
Don't go far.
I'm standing by.
It's the dry dock next to that.
Yeah. All right, so next we have the update on the Martha's Vineyard dry dock that's taking place at the same shipyard in New London, Connecticut.
Okay, here's a picture of the completed underwater hull section. We've completed the blasting and coating. She undocked a week ago, Saturday, and next slide. So we continue we wanted to give kind of a representation of what we're seeing in all the ports, but particularly in the Barnstable area from Hyannis to Nantucket. And what you see here is the main shaft, and this is scoring as a result of sand inside the cutlass bearing between the shaft. Next slide. So what we do is we bring the shafts down to New Jersey and we machine that area out. And what you see here is a weld buildup by a wire feed welder to build up the damaged area on the shafts. Next slide. And so we machine the shafts down, and what you see is that color. We do an NDE examination for cracks in that area. And then we bring the shafts back. Next slide. So in this, we put new cutlass bearings in throughout, and then we reinstall the shafts. And this is kind of, we kind of look at the Hyannis to Nantucket run being a very high maintenance, and we want to get ahead. We reading wise, we felt we were within the bounds, but we wanted to make sure that, you know, we had good service going forward. So we decided to do both the shafts, so we have a better baseline going forward of the wear rates. Next slide. We just we finished overhauling a generator as normal maintenance, preventive maintenance in our preventive maintenance program. Next slide. This is a bow thruster that we finished overhauling, and this is part of our scheduled maintenance. Next. So the highlights of the docking, hull coatings, bow thruster overhaul, main propulsion shaft repairs and bearing replacements, and structural steel renewals, blast and coat of the hull and superstructure. And the financial snapshot is our main contract price was $1.24 million. We had a number of minor change orders resulting in $245,000 and $195,000 in credits, and the grand total for the dry docking was $999,737, approximately $240,000 under budget. Any questions?
Questions on the board? Nice job coming in under budget.
Thank you.
You. Next item.
All right, next item we have is request of a vote of the members to authorize the general manager to execute a renewal of the transportation agreement with the Martha's Vineyard Regional High School District with school-related approved travel. Annually, the Steamship Authority enters into a transportation agreement with the high school district to establish a fixed price contract for the transportation of student groups, teachers, administrators, and game officials on school-approved travel for the school's upcoming fiscal year. In this case, would be for 2023 to July 1, 2023 to June 30th, 2024. The prior agreement established a fixed price of $35,000 for the fiscal year that ended this past June. The rate reflected an approximate 50% discount over the applicable tariff rates. This year, the school district has requested that we consider a 2-year agreement. So during the most recent school year, which ended on June 30th, 2023, the authority provided transportation to the high school, Martha's Vineyard High School District in the amount of $88,242, which was a 20.8% increase over the prior year. The transportation costs during 2018-19 season were $101,000. 2019 to 2020 was $69,000, and then the 2020 to 2021 was only $32,000. Obviously, the effects of COVID. So the school district for the past 2 years has averaged about $80,000, just over $80,000 in travel. So the staff is recommending that we enter into a 2-year agreement at a fixed price of $40,000 per year, which would approximate the 50% discount we normally provide the island schools, including the Nantucket Public Schools. In the case of the Nantucket Public Schools, it's one island, one town, so it's not a budget consideration, but For the Vineyard, there's multiple towns, so they have to get it into their budgets on an annual basis to fund this travel, so. The recommendation is that the members vote to authorize the general manager to execute a new transportation agreement with the Martha's Vineyard Regional High School District for school-related approved transportation for a fixed price of $40,000 for the period of July 1, 2023 through June 30th, 2025, 2-year agreement.
I move to accept the recommendation, management.
I second.
Motion made and seconded, any discussion? Not hearing any, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No, that's unanimous. What else you got?
I think that's it for me at the moment.
Okay, let's go to the treasurer's report. Mr. Rozum, good morning.
Morning, everyone. The business summary for the month of August. Okay, so in the Vineyard route, passengers carried were down 1.9%, or just 6,355 passengers. On the Nantucket route, passengers down just under 12,500, or 13.6%. Both routes combined, passengers were down just under 18,900 passengers, or 4.4%. To date, both routes combined, passengers are up to 21,636 passengers, or 1.1%. Here's the monthly comparison of the passengers carried for both routes combined. Okay, passenger vehicles under 20 feet in length on the Vineyard route for August were down 2.1% at 1,218 passengers. The standard fares were down, the automobiles and the other categories were up. On the Nantucket route, all categories were up 4.2% or 461 vehicles. For the month, both routes combined were down 1.1% or 757 vehicles. Year to date, we're up just over 1,100 vehicles or 0.3% for both routes. Okay, so freight vehicles for the month of August, the Vineyard route was up, all these vehicles are in passengers at one-way travel for everyone. We're up 59 vehicles or 0.9%. Nantucket was down 151 vehicles, 4.2%. In total, trucks combined for both routes are down 0.9%. If you look at the Nantucket route, with the trucks being down 151 and the cars were up about 400, so the average truck is about 3 car units, so it's a net zero-sum game. So the less trucks, more cars on the Nantucket route, where they're effectively at capacity in August. Both routes combined for the year to date are up 3.7% or 2,452 one-way vehicles. Any questions?
Yeah, is there any view as to why the trucks were down in the month of August in Nantucket?
It could be projects going on, don't have, timing of different deliveries, events possibly. Don't have a hard number on why that's down, but year to date, they're pretty flat. It could be just some timing of the deliveries. All right, yeah. And here's the monthly comparison. Here are the traffic statistics or the patterns for the all vehicles on the Vineyard route for the month of August for every day of the week. Here's the freight truck traffic alone for weekdays, and you see the trucks are in the morning leaving Woods Hole and coming back in the afternoon, and very little traffic at night. And here's the weekend for the freight traffic as well, similar patterns, but significantly less volume. Parking, similar to the passengers, we're looking at 3.6% down on the Vineyard route. Nantucket route is down 21.1% in total cars parked for both routes combined, and down 2,208 vehicles, 7.2%. Year to date, we are up 0.8% or 963 vehicles for both routes combined. And here's the monthly comparison. Trip summary report for the month of August. On the Vineyard route, we had 26 trips canceled for mechanical, 0 for weather, for 4 for traffic, and 14 for crewing. On the Nantucket route, we had 2 for mechanical, none for weather, and 64 for crewing, bringing the year-to-date totals of 97 trips canceled for mechanical, 116 for weather, 162 for traffic and 262 for crewing. In the purple category is what the year-to-date percentages is for each island, and then in the green is what 2022 was. So for the mechanicals, cancellations were below last year, as well as the weather cancellation. Last year, we didn't have crewing incidents, so that's why we're at 0 for last year.
Yeah. Thank you. Mark, just to refresh my, when you say crewing, that's what we call trip consolidation?
No, so the crewing is, we're actually short trips.
What is trip
The
consolidation?
traffic is, say like Saturday night, we were able to consolidate 3 trips onto 1, so we'll not run the freight bulk that's on a public schedule.
So you're calling consolidation of traffic is the same?
Yes.
So when we receive notification that trips have been canceled for consolidation, that's because we don't have sufficient vehicles
Correct.
backed up for that, so we've eliminated the trip.
Yes,
Thank you.
good explanation. Yes.
Just a note, with the mechanicals down, was 7% or something like that, for the Vineyard and for something for the Nantucket. Comparatively to Washington State Ferry, this is a fraction of a percent. Washington State Ferry is 2 point something. The goal is 1. And no matter what, we're doing much better in mechanicals. This is, yeah, exactly, and it should be noted. Because a canceled trip, no matter what's a canceled trip, is an aggravation for everybody.
It's a significant impact to our traveling public, we know that.
Exactly, yeah.
If I could ask, not for the next meeting, but at the end of the year, I would find it helpful as we look at the useful life of our fleet to have a rundown as to how many mechanical cancellations occurred per vessel. I mean, now it's rather anecdotal, but I'm particularly concerned about the Nantucket recently about, putting good money into a bad vessel. Well, I'm not saying it's a bad vessel, but we've had quite a few mechanical issues with it post its dry dock. So I would find it helpful to have that data.
So, if I may, so we have that report. It's added to as the 4th page to the traffic reports. So we can provide that in terms of it's broken down by vessel, by route. The issue that I want to make sure that where on some of these cases, whether a vessel is had its dry dock in a particular year versus it being the off year for a dry dock, sometimes when you look at the historical, sometimes that influences it a little without having the numbers in front of me. I just want to point that out.
That's why I'd like the data.
We'll take care of that. Okay, so financial snapshot for the month of August, we had operating revenue of 19,766,000, which was lower than budget by just under $49,000. We had other income of 985,000, which is higher than budget by 535,000. Operating expenses of 11,114,000 is lower than budget by 711,000. And putting this together with the income deductions, we have a net operating income of 9.5 million, which was higher than budget by 1.3 million for the month of August. Year to date net income, we have 18,456,000, which is higher than budget by about 8.9 million. But looking at the preliminary September numbers, which we finalize the next day, we're going to see that number drop by about $1.5 million roughly with the traffic that we've had in September. Operating revenues for the month, we can see as illustrated with it's mostly in the automobile revenue. This is compared to budget, and for the budget statistics, we are using August of 2021 as a comparison. So we're down $50,000, but year to date we're up 232,000. Other income, we're up 3 million. That's being driven by timing of grant revenue as well as additional interest income. We didn't expect the interest rate to be this high. Here's a breakdown of the operating revenues by month as for the year to date through August and for the month of August. Operating expenses were down 711,000. Fuel expense for the month was down 107,000 or 6%. We budgeted $3.87 a gallon. It came in at $3.72. Year to date, we're at $3.30 a gallon on average versus $3.97 in the budget. Year to date, we're about 1.7 million down in fuel expense this year. Here's a breakdown of the expenses for the month of August as well as year to date. And here's the traffic numbers for September, and I believe the statistic I heard yesterday was 15 of the last 20 weekends were rain. So we can see the impact on the passengers. We're down just under 26,000 passengers for both routes combined at 8%. And year to date, we are down about 3,951 passengers for both routes combined. Here's the passenger vehicles, down 5.5% on the Vineyard run. All categories are down, and on the Nantucket run, same thing, but less volume. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Do you have the trucks for September?
They're actually, yes, the trucks are in that category. I just consolidated all, keep it on one slide. Trucks were on the Vineyard route were down 5.2%. By 286 one ways, and then the Nantucket route is down 3.1% at 97. But some of that could be just simply less people going, less need for restaurant foods, and could have an impact there. But you know, it also depends on what projects are going on as well. Any other questions? Thank you. Budget. So we're going to propose the 2024 proposed operating budget. We had 2 open houses last month right after the board meetings. The morning session, we had 4 total people show up to the meeting. 2 were related to the Steamship Authority, so 2 from the general public, and the evening session had 0 attendees, and we did receive 0 questions on the budget before we get started. Okay, so the 2024 operating budget, and materially nothing's changed since the last board meeting for the preference. Baseline revenues is the actual traffic statistics from August 2022 through July 2023, previous 12 months. We're budgeting for a fuel decrease of 1.8 million or 14%. We are hedged with about 95% of all the fuel costs for next year at $3.35 a gallon versus $3.93 in the 2023 budget. Inflation from July to July was at 3.2% CPI, and the operating budget is based on the 2024 approved operating schedule that was previously approved this year. And Courtney Oliveira, the assistant treasurer, will walk us through the budget.
The 2024 budget has operating revenues of 137.7 million and operating expenses of 137.6 million. Other income totals 9.9 million, while other expenses totals 4.2, for a bottom line of just under 6 million. Significant operating expense changes, budget versus budget for 2024 are increases to training totaling almost 348,000. This increase is due to the licensed deck officer training program, crew familiarization training, in addition to our normal training schedule. Next, we have an increase in our insurance expenses of more than 381,000. Operation of terminals has an increase of 935,000. This is primarily due to an increase in utility expenses. General expense is an increase of 2 million. This number includes the 348,000 for training that we've already highlighted, in addition to increases in pension, health, and welfare. Maintenance expense increase of 3.1 million, and our next slide has more details on it.
Next question. Because this confused me when I was watching the Port Council. This is the one I was about to ask.
Okay.
So we're double counting the 347. The 347 is in the bucket by itself, but it's also included in general expense.
Correct. We wanted to highlight the training, the extra cost we're putting into that.
Thank you.
2024's maintenance budget includes the dry docking of 4 vessels at a total cost of just over 6 million. Next year, the Nantucket, the Eagle, the Island Home, and the Aquinnah will all be dry docked. The maintenance expense budgeted for terminals, dolphins, and docks totals 3.9 million. Projects include siding and trim replacement to the terminal in Hyannis, as well as design and engineering to the pump out system at that location. In Vineyard Haven, there will be repairs to the slips, and pier decking repairs have been budgeted for Oak Bluff. Here we are showing the operating revenue variances between the 2024 and 2023 budgets. Passenger revenue is up 1.5 million and 4.4%. Parking revenue is up 26,000 or 0.3%. Freight revenue is up 289,000 or 0.7%. And auto revenue is down 1.6 million or 3.6%. The increase in passenger revenue in the 2024 budget is due to the 2023 budget using 5 months of 2021 traffic statistics, which we know is still a time period being impacted by COVID. The decrease in the auto revenue is due to the overall quantity of vehicles traveling, in addition to a decrease in the number of standard fare vehicles traveling versus the number of excursion fare vehicles. Now we can go to the graph. This graph shows the 2024 budgeted net income by month. As you can see, we operate at a deficit for the first 4 months of the year. We make money May through October and lose money again in the months of November and December. The cumulative net income line shows that we have our largest cumulative net loss in April at about 16 million. We have a maximum net income of 13 million in October before settling at a net income for the year of just under 6 million. With that, Mark or I would be happy to answer any questions.
Questions from the board? Mr. Malcolm?
This actually is less of a question, more of a point. I'm regretful of the fact that the Steamship Authority had general information systems on the budget, and we had 4 people from the public attend these sessions. If I had that number.
Actually, two, one was an employee, and one was a support council member, so it was actually 2 that weren't of the 4.
So we had 2 people from the general public attend. We have clearly a lot of people on this island, I suspect, in Nantucket as well, very concerned about cost increases. And I would find it helpful for these people if they would attend this kind of session and to understand what's going on with these numbers and have an appreciation of that. The other point I'd make is in looking at the proposed budget, what we're looking at is an increased number of islanders traveling in terms of excursion fares. And as I recall, the excursion fare rate for islanders is what percentage of its cost?
37%, roughly.
So essentially, we're paying the islanders who have excursion rates are paying 37% of the cost of the travel. And as we have more islanders using the Steamship Authority, we get less of our costs covered by people traveling with their vehicles who happen to be islanders. That then translates into revenue shortfall that we then wind up having to make by increasing our budget. So increasing, in some cases, ticket prices.
So this year, as we talked about in previous meetings, we're seeing a rebalancing, getting back to pre-COVID levels of the percentage of standard fare compared to excursion fares. So it's just, you see in the graphs, is September excursion from standards are down. And during the proposed rate adjustments, there'll be a graph illustrating what you talked about with the excursion fare as well.
Any other questions from the board? Then we need to take a vote on this. Is there a motion?
I'll move the budget.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? No? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Next,
The pull this up. Proposed rate adjustments for 2024 budget. So why are the rate adjustments needed? We're increasing our maintenance costs by budgeted by about 13.3% of $3.1 million, as Courtney previously mentioned. Vessel dry docks and terminal maintenance expenses are forecast out sometimes as far as 18 months in advance. The training costs are going up $350,000, but more importantly, 48.2% investing in our employees with the familiars refamiliarization of the vessels, as Courtney, of the new vessels, as Courtney points out. And we're also seeing a cost of insurance of increase of 380,000, 7.9%. Some of that's due to the new vessels coming online as well. Here's a breakdown on the budgeted maintenance expense by year. So in the yellow is the land sign and the blue is the vessels. So we make sure that we're maintaining the vessels. Here's the budgeted cost. The adoption of the learning management system. You can see from 2021 to 2022 and so forth. They know the training costs that we're increasing here. So the bottom line, we're targeting a net operating income of $9 million. We have operating revenue for we're at 5.8 million on the budget that was just approved. So we need roughly about 3,177,000, of which 1.8 million will come from the Vineyard route and 1.4 will come from the Nantucket route. This refers to what Mr. Malcolm was talking about with the excursion fares and the standard fares. So in the light blue is the revenue generated, and the dark blue is the spaces. And on the Nantucket run, the same pattern as the revenue, the dark is the spaces. You can see the excursion fare vehicles on the Vineyard account for 27.6% of the overall spaces on the boats, but they only account for 10% of the revenue. As compared to the standard fare vehicles in the middle, you're looking at the account for 46.5% of the spaces and 62.2% of the revenue. The other important thing is that there's a little discrepancy between the two islands, where on the Nantucket run, on the Vineyard run, the freight covers more of its cost of service than on the Nantucket run. And that's where we'll see a little difference in the proposed rate adjustments coming up. And that's illustrated on this slide. And this was a summary of what was presented back in August with the cost of service analysis that we do. So looking at the Vineyard run, right now the freight service covers 106.5% of the service. And on the Nantucket run, it's 82.3% in 2022. The excursion fares cover 35.8% on the Vineyard and 38.5%. And you can see the rest of the categories here in what order. So the bottom line, so we're not recommending any adjustments to the passenger fares or the excursion fares for 2024. We are recommending, however, adjustments to the standard fare vehicles, passenger vehicles about 2.4 million, freight vehicles on the Nantucket run, which would be $700,000, and to adjustments of the parking permits on the Vineyard run of $79,000. So the Vineyard run, so the standard fare vehicles, looking at adjusting the shoulder season by $2, which would bring it from $98 to $100. The peak season, which is the summer, $9 Monday through Thursday, and on the weekends, Friday through Sunday, $10. The 10 ride coupon books would go up because it's a direct relationship to the above mentioned pricing. Parking permits would go up $75 per year in the Woods Hole lot and $50 at the Palmer Avenue lot. And putting this together, that would get us the revenue we would need to make up for the budget shortfall. On the Nantucket run, a little different. So the standard fares during their rates will only be during the peak season, May through October. So we're looking at standard fares going up $15 Monday through Thursday and $25 Friday through Sunday. So for example, the standard fare on the weekend would go from $295 to $320. Auto ride, it's a derivative of those above mentioned prices, and the freight vehicles would go up 4% across the board. To note, we would make any adjustments to any of the smaller freight vehicles if there's any arbitrage issues where they were underneath the price of a 20-foot vehicle. So make it accordingly so the bigger truck wouldn't pay less than the smaller one. Here is a graph of where the proposed rate adjustments are coming from. So 76% of it will come from the standard fares, and it's all baseball in summer. Parking permits 3%, and the freight traffic from the Nantucket run 21%. This is a graph what Courtney showed earlier, but now with the proposed rate adjustments included, where we still lose money 6 months of the year, we would have a net loss of 15.9 million through the first 4 months. Then through October, we'd be about $17 million in net income. And then we'd finish out the year about 9 million. So we'd lose roughly 4 million for the last 2 months, each month for the last 2 months of the year. Some housekeeping items that we want to change related to the budget is the freight truck cancellation policy right now is at 6 a.m. the day before. We're proposing to move it to 9 a.m. so the freight companies have a better handle on what's going on the next day and the offices are open. We think it would help manage the space better by having that better information. We want to adjust the shellfish and cranberry rates for the under 25-foot vehicles for them to get the same type of discounts that the bigger vehicles are getting now. Because most of those trucks, we want to encourage the smaller trucks like the pickup trucks and to help the local businesses export their products off the islands. And then we want to do some housekeeping on the wharfage rate right now. It's $1 a foot, which is too low. So we want to go up to about $6 a foot. None of these we expect to have any material impact in the budget. It's just more of a fairness issue and improvements in operations. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Second from board. Oh, do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll vote.
We have a motion?
Sorry.
Motion's made and seconded, all in favor?
All right.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
Thank you. So the last thing is that we have an authorized signers list. We lost one of our employees resigned early this year, the county manager, and through changes in positions, we added someone to our accounting department. Chris Chase was the internal audit manager, and we're asking him to be added to the signature list for all of our bank accounts.
Questions? Motion to approve, so anybody? Yes,
Second.
motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
That's passed.
I'm all done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Procurement.
All right, first item that I have is a request that the members authorize the general manager to award contract number 15-2023 dry dock and overhaul services for the MVINO to the lowest eligible and responsible bidder. In this case, it's Fairhaven Shipyard Companies of Fairhaven, Mass. For a total contract price of $1,016,888. So the INO is scheduled to enter the shipyard availability from January 10th, 2024 through February 14th, 2024 to undergo its required Coast Guard hull exam, jet and shaft maintenance, interceptor ride control overhauls, coating maintenance on the underwater and superstructure. There's also an element of this in which the shipyard is going to be able to store the vessel for us out of the water over the winter time. The 2024 operating budget estimate that was originally prepared back in July for this included those above mentioned items was for $822,806. The discrepancies between what those budget estimates were and end up being $194,074, 23.6%. The most significant of this was the blasting and coating of the hull above the rub rail of just under $183,000 versus what our budget estimate was. But part of that is that we do see the storage rate is going to end up being less than what we had included in our operating rents as well. So we expect to see some savings there. The drawings and specifications were sent to 17 shipyards. We had 2 responsive bids, which are included in your packet. So we're looking for the board to authorize the general manager to award contract number 15-2023 dry dock and overhaul services for the MVINO to the lowest eligible and responsible bidder, Fairhaven Shipyard Companies of Fairhaven, Mass, for a total contract price of $1,016,880.
Questions on the board? Motions.
I know that we've said this over and over again, but I really wish we could look at a strategy to get more responsive bids to these type of RFPs. I'm wondering, we know that they have to be dry docked according to the Coast Guard in a cycle that would it be more attractive if we tried to bid this out for multiple years in advance so people have more shipyards but potentially bid on this? With 2 bidders, we're kind of really at the mercy of the market. And so I just would ask that we put a little bit more effort in trying to find creative ways of getting more responsive bids.
Duly noted. I know that I've had some conversations with a couple of the shipyards recently, one of which I thought I'd probably be working on this, and they're just so busy right now with some new builds that are going on. So they didn't have any dock space to be able to take the vessel, but actually was encouraged. We did have someone, Bayonne Dry Dock and Repair Company, Bayonne, New Jersey, was the other bidder on this project, and we had a conversation. That was the first time that they bid on a project, even though we continue to send them the bid package. So they had sent a representative up for the opening of this, and there was a discussion with them at that time in terms of potential for future projects. So try to work that relationship a little bit more.
Do we have a motion?
I'll move.
Okay, motion's made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
There we go, that is approved. Next item,
Okay, so the next item, Mark alluded to this earlier. We're requesting a vote of the members to authorize the general manager to execute a change order for contract number 19-2022, the motor vessel conversion, dry dock and overhaul services for 2 OSV vessels. The change order reinstates the original 24-foot mid-body removal and includes extending the stern ramp and the bulwarks by 10 feet at a cost of $114,678 per vessel. This additional cost would be offset by a credit of $105,454 per vessel for the elimination of contract item number 034, which was the optional 14-foot mid-body removal. So, as Mark had pointed out earlier, the architect has gone back and revisited some of the assumptions as we continue working with the shipyard. And there was a determination made that by going back to the original 24-foot mid-body removal and extending the stern by an additional 10 feet, we get the vessel down to the length between perpendiculars is 200 feet, which then eliminates a couple of the subdivision bulkheads that are required for the vessel. So we anticipate that there'll be additional credits coming for that, and it also will help the schedule, keep driving the schedule on those conversions of those vessels. So and should note that when we did the speed power simulation with Maritime Research Institute of Netherlands, or MARIN, to predict the speed power performance of these vessels, the model that we used was actually the length between perpendiculars of 200 feet. So we expect that it won't have an impact on the speed of the vessels. So we're asking that the board authorize the general manager to execute change orders for contract number 19-2022, motor vessel conversion, dry dock and overhaul services for 2 OSV vessels, the MV Aquinnah, under contract number 19-2022A, and the MV Barnstable under contract number 2022B, for a combined total cost of $229,356. This cost would be offset with a combined credit of $210,908 for the deletion of contract item number 034, the optional 14-foot mid-body. So the grand total net cost would be $18,448, plus any future credits that we get for removing the insertion of those 3 subdivision bulkheads, as well as potential savings on the schedule.
questions from the board?
Just a question, so you're gonna extend the stern 10 feet further than was planned for?
Correct.
Okay, so how does that affect the stability of the boat? When you're gonna load to the end of the extension?
Yeah, so just like we currently do on the Tamer and the Gayhead and the Sankaty, there'll be bulwarks around the end, but yes, will be. They've done the analysis on the structural members that are needed to be able to support, the vehicles, remaining on that section of the vessel, while it's underway.
All right. We have a motion,
I'll move.
motion's made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No, that's unanimous. Now we got Bob,
That's all I have.
any other new business,
Um,
Mr. Malcolm?
Yeah, I wondered the remarks that I made at the beginning in terms of lack of reservations, availability and empty boats. And I wonder if we could speak to that, also the issue of electrification, who's responsible, what are we gonna do about financing? If hybrid is the way to go, what plans do we have, who's in charge, and what's the sense of timeline on that?
Yeah, no, I was, wanted to bring that up to see if, you wanted that addressed today or next meeting. So in terms of the reservation,
If we get, I'd like a full and comprehensive answer. If it's better to wait for next meeting, I'm comfortable with that. But I do want a full and comprehensive answer.
So regarding the first issue, in terms of the reservations, the empty boats, the concern, we have been going back and running the data in terms of what's been on the vessels, what vehicles have either moved ahead or were no-shows. And we're trying to do that by vessel. One of the issues we have, and as much as everyone loves the motor vessel governor, it's a difficult vessel to determine what the load is going to be. And so we're looking at that one. We started with that one. It's been seems to be the most problematic in terms of what the allocation needs to be versus what it has been. So we're working on that. We anticipated having that data available in a format for the full council meeting coming up. We are looking at more actively reviewing what the allocations have been in terms of space. We have some of the freight boats. The issue we have is that once you put on a certain number of trucks on it, we hit some draft limitations, which cause us to, we try to err on the side that we don't want to be leaving people behind. So that becomes an issue with the Aquinnah and Barnstable and Monomoy. Those issues should be going away as being a subchapter H vessel as opposed to the I boat and the T boat. So we're looking at that. And the other issue is that, we're looking at, this was a challenging year in terms of some of the crewing. So we didn't want to compound some of the issues in terms of whether we were going to have cancellations for lack of a crew on some of that. But again, we're putting together, gathering all that data and putting it together, and we'll be. The plan was to be presenting it at the Port Council meeting board at next month's meeting. In terms of the alternative fuel sources, we continue to look at what's been happening in the industry, talking with other operators that are, similarly looking at this, or have already, in some cases, have already embarked on some of it. We did file our application early this year for a grant from MARAD, which would have been used towards this, and we also filed a grant application, $17 million grant application for the FTA, which if awarded, which they should be making those announcements and probably within the next month or so. If awarded, it was earmarked for to be converting one of the OSBs to a hybrid model. We do have looking at LFA Design Group to get us a proposal to take the next steps in terms of their electrification study that they had done earlier. So we're waiting on that. I don't believe we haven't gotten that back yet from them yet, have we, Mark?
I actually just talked to LFA last week. When we were at PPA, and then I'm sure it's some emails. earlier this week, we were asking, for information on speed curve analysis that we're going to provide. And they had a list of 12 questions for us that I wanted to get answered for that. So we'll have a follow-up for that. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna build out that question that we have now. To look at the best way forward. At some point here, we need to develop a roadmap of how we're gonna move forward. I look at like Washington State, what we're doing with their roadmap, and that's something that we should model and how we develop. We have the Michelin Light Report. That we've been over 2 years now. I think that was brought up and that we need to look at an overall strategy. And I see these coming out of our strategic planning that then move on to the technical roadmaps for the 2050 mandates from Massachusetts as far as gas emissions, and then as well as the placement and modernization and how we move forward, what the alternative fuels, whether it be hybrid, a mixture of both. And we look at the our well parameters. This is a good place for use of hybridization and stored power and batteries for that. So this is all stuff that we're gonna have to work on over the next year.
So, and just like with the presentation that I gave earlier to the Ferries Now group, there's a lot that's going to be going into this in terms of not only the vessels themselves, but the shore side. So we need to start looking at more of a global discussion in terms of it. And of course, the big thing is how we're going to pay for it. And until we're able to identify a significant source of revenue to be doing this, whether grant programs or whether it's the whether it's on the federal level or the Commonwealth level, those are all things that we continue to monitor and pursue. And as I said, we put in for a couple of these programs now just to try to get the us ducks in a row. And I think with the LA Bay, they're familiar with our vessels, they're familiar with our routes. They are able to model, for instance, the Woods Hole, since they were the ones who designed it. And they're also familiar with the OSVs that we purchased. They did some of the design work for the Navy on the step systems of those vessels that the Navy has. So they had that information as well. So they're going to be a valuable resource in developing this. Elliott Bay also was part of the, Mark mentioned the Washington State study. Elliott Bay was a member of that team, along with a whole bunch of people from WashDOT that they were able to do. So it's something that's we talk about. We know we need, we're looking at it. We're attending. There's a marine law conference coming up that we'll be attending, and I'm sure there'll be vendors and some of this. I haven't looked at the agenda for that recently, but my assumption is that there's going to be multiple sessions regarding electrification. So try to keep on top of this.
Thank you for that. I guess my follow-up to that is I appreciate that information. This is information that we've had for a while. We've worked with Elliott Bay. I'm glad that we're continuing the discussion, but we need a project plan. There's huge financing element to this. There's going to be operational elements to this, and to do something other than talk to various people, we really need to be driving this to project plan, or we're not going to make these deadlines. Yeah. Thank you.
So the other items that you had, I put down replacement vessels. Obviously, was as we look, useful life survey, we identified what we have. The being able to replace, the container and the gay head at this point with these 3 new vessels and with a, 25+ year useful life of those vessels, is going to obviously aid us in our capital budgeting, which we're putting that together. We anticipate probably at the December meeting to be presenting the 2024 capital budget. And with that will be, some of these elements and what we plan to be doing, so. And then the last item you had mentioned was training, and then I think during some of the presentations earlier, it shows the amount of effort that we're going through in terms of training this week and next week. We're conducting previously was called a safety fair, but it's our training and development fair, which we've been having cycling in crew members with the change in the operating schedule starting this week. We're able to get crew members in. There, I believe today is OSHA 10 training for a full day to be doing that, but there's different elements of it that each day is a different class, and then we go back and rinse and repeat and do another class next week with a different group of people. So it's an ongoing thing. We do have approximately 40 crew members that we were able to identify that are interested in promotional opportunities. I want to say it's 3 captains, I think, 3 pilots that would like to become captains, which is encouraging. We have, off the top of my head, I think it's 6 ABs that interested in becoming pilots. And then we have some ordinary seamen that want to become ABs. We also, thankfully, we have a handful of people that want to become oilers on the vessels. So, and it's a much needed thing. I will say that it continues to be a challenge to be recruiting people. We sent one of us, a staff member, up to Cal Maritime 2 weeks ago to attend their career fair. And actually, I think he reporting back to me that he has 2 cadets that are going to be wanting to come out here for the summer and work as work on the vessels during the summer. We attended the Mass Maritime career fair, I think it was 2 weeks ago. And this past week, this past Thursday, the staff member along with Mark Higgins attended the Maine Maritime one, and I think that they were able to identify 3 or 4 of the cadets from Maine Maritime to come down to work for us, and I guess some of them are live in Plymouth or born, so it's we continue to do that, but we do. As Mark mentioned earlier, we attended a regional PBA, and that was one of the major topics of everyone is how difficult it has been to be getting mariners and what's everyone doing. So we didn't want to give away our playbook as much as possible, but we are looking. We're now advertising in some of the major marine publications for some of the license officers positions. So.
Okay. Do we have any public comment? Yes, sir.
Adam Kernan, Martha's Vineyard Commission. First, welcome to the Vineyard. It's good to have these kinds of discussions. In terms of electric and the alternative energy issues, I think it's been discussed. I don't think I need to add anything. We do think it's appropriate for it to be in the strategic plan so that it is dealt with comprehensively as well as fiscally. I know you guys are challenged in all these things of balancing everything. And we think the strategic plan is the right mechanism to do it. Is there any time frame on the strategic plan?
Actually, you've got different groups meeting that wrap elements for the plan. So that's an option. There's several groups meeting that for this. I think as far as the plan, you know, that's one of the outcomes that I see from, you know, the planning is, you know, what are we doing over the next 20 years? And, you know, on several fronts, as I said, had a roadmap and how we climate change goals, as well as the roadmap on how we modernize that. And whether it's, you know, alternative fuels like carbon-9, hybridization, electric theories. You know, that's a lot of work that we can bring in. I recognize that a lot of what we're saying is the same that we've heard, but right now, at the end of the day, we're not building upon that to start to have the foundation to put that together. Yesterday, I actually talked with our legal provider, about the power 99 available during exposed. Which claims that people for the world and the public in the summer, it will be available in the island, which we could look at something like 20 to 50% blend with that diesel, which will dramatically reduce footprint by doing the R90. I don't know how much people know about it. It's regulated by carbon California, fuel. But there's a lot of work that we can do there. You know, involved in press release for when I was hired, talking about my experience in electrification theories and, you know, something like that with this project.
Excellent. No, it's understood. It's definitely a complex problem that has a lot of different kinds of things that you have to look into. Price of oil, which changes, you know, to get to that point, price of electricity. We realize it's complex. I think all we're saying is that the strategic plan along the look, whether it takes as long as it takes, but that's the proper place to sort of have these discussions, and so we support that process. Secondly, you know, people talk about the steamship, which is pretty much the most vital, you know, thing that we have. We talked about cars and freight and everything, but everything comes, all commodities come in, and as we in the town struggle with, you know, meeting our carbon goals, and a lot of the data that we use to sort of get to that place comes from you guys. And we appreciate, you know, other people. I know the data is always apples to apples, and we have to sort of work together to sort of figure it out, but it is something that we're all sort of involved in. I just want to, you know, appreciate, you know, the work that we both put into sort of getting there over the next couple of years, similar to the strategic plan. It's a new world for us as well. So we appreciate your cooperation with us, and we look forward to working with you. Yeah, welcome.
And I'd like to thank you guys for your support for the grant applications we put in. And we expect next year with the announcement, anticipating announcement for the 2024 NOVO that we'd be applying again, and we hope we continue to get your support for those programs.
And I think in terms of some of the data requested, you've been talking about being able to identify what are the hybrid vehicles that we're carrying, because, you know, in some cases, yes, a Tesla we know is going to be electric, but we don't know whether a Ford Explorer, whether that's a combustion fuel or whether that's a hybrid model and things like that. So some of that data we're looking to be able to identify, that, so that way on a going forward basis we'll have that.
Like I said, we look forward to working with you, you know, in terms of understanding what fossil fuels are brought to the island and other kinds of things. But the only way we're going to get at it, because we're going to have to make some decisions for cooperatively, and both of us understand what kind of assumptions we make. So I appreciate that.
Mr. Chair, to respond to Mr. Turner's comment about strategic plan, at the risk of being the grumpy curmudgeon that I called and that I could be, I'm less interested in the alternative fuels being an element of the strategic plan, because I've seen many of them come and go over time. What I asked for here was a project plan. We know what we have to do. And it shouldn't be a strategy, it should be an execution issue. That's what I'm looking at, is a project plan to get it started. Thank you.
That's what I was referring to when I said that, I put a roadmap together.
Right.
We'll have a project plan pretty soon.
It's gonna be a lot of money, it's gonna be a lot of effort, but we have to do it, we're gonna have to do it.
That's it.
Thank you, Jim.
Any other public comment?
I have one on the Zoom. Bob, if you wanna, Morris, if you wanna unmute yourself.
Mr. Morris, go ahead, we can't hear you. Any other comment from anyone in the room? Looks like he's trying.
Yeah, looks like he's trying. It looks like there's a technical problem, so, sorry, if there's anything you want to send it in writing, we can have it for that.
Okay, well, hearing no other public comment, I would like to entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss and approve the minutes of the authorities meeting in executive session on September 26, 2023, and review the authority's strategies with respect to pending litigation, real estate developments, and collective bargaining negotiations, because a public discussion of these matters may have a detrimental effect on the authority's negotiating and bargaining positions. These matters include Captain Albert Ross et al. Versus the Woods Hole Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket Steamship Authority et al. Civil action number 122 CV 10242. Brooks Road parking lot lease with Barnstable Airport. Shoestring Properties LLC's proposed development at 110 and 115 School Street, Hyannis. And anticipated and ongoing negotiations with Teamsters Union Local 59, SEIU Local 888, and MEDA's District Number 1PCD. The public disclosure of any more information with respect to these matters would compromise the purposes for which the executive session is being called. After the conclusion of the executive session, we will not reconvene in public. Again, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion's made and seconded. We don't need to roll call, okay?
Sure.
All in favor?
All right.
We are adjourned.